So the Sinnoh Lake Legendary Trio all share one exclusive move that no other Pokemon get, and everyone completely forgets that this even exists, but it can become extremely game-changing. Mystical Power is just a 70 power psychic move, but it gives you a +1 boost to special attack every time you use it. Azelf is naturally the best option to pull this out because of its offensive build with base 125 special attack and solid 115 speed. This thing isn't usually expected to be a setup sweeper, so we can catch people off guard by jump starting our sweep with, potential nasty plot to double our special attack immediately, or just straight up start firing off some mystical powers to boost. One of my favorite things about Azelf is its access to great coverage. This makes it a really nice candidate for the Expert Belt item, which is able to boost our super effective hits by 20%. And after just one Mystical Power boost, we can get into kill range by pulling out any of its coverage options and potential flamethrowers. It's got Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, or even Dazzling Gleam. Its solid base 115 speed makes it faster than a lot of threats, and Azelf can really get snowballing with Terra Psychic to even boost up our mystical powers further. And if this thing finds itself in a good position, it can immediately become an absolutely nasty special sweeper that we're gonna make some people afraid of. Look, power creep has not been good to our little pixie buddy, but hey, it gets mystical power, and even though base 125 offenses doesn't quite hit the same as it used to, Azelf still has crazy potential to pop off on some people, and not a lot of people expect this thing to be an offensive sweeper. So today we're gonna show some love to one of my favorite little fellas that's been locked away in a cave for too long. And if that sounds like a fun time to you, consider hitting that subscribe button, or also don't. That would be fine too. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Alright, so as my opponent, I kind of expect them to lead off with a Fortress. Generally a pretty easy prediction on that end. They do lead off with the glasses that looks like he's seen some shit, and I have myself some early game hot lasagna, and that's a perfect matchup for me. Now, one good thing about a Heatran lead is it potentially bluffs the fact that I'm going to click Stealth Rock. I'm actually Assault Vest, and instead I decide to go for the Magma Storm, expecting them to probably switch. They do go into this Ceruledge. As they come in, they soak up a little Flash Fire. But here's the thing, it's kind of a no-risk play on my end because Ceruledge doesn't really have much that it can do to Heatran. That's actually a lie. It could have close combat, but most of the time I feel like people aren't opting for the CC. But regardless, I'm going to stay in and risk getting my ass beat the hell up. And as I decide to go for the Earth Power, in comes Dondozo. Now that does give some pretty good chip to the guy. This thing generally going to be a more physically defensive fella. And honestly, Dondozo being on a squad kind of ties my nuts in a knot most of the time. He has the ability unaware, so you can't really set up in the face of the thing, but I see pretty good damage there, and I figure there's not much this thing can really do. And as I go into Bramblegast, they decide to rest. They probably thought I'd stay in and go for another Earth Power, maybe, and as they rest, that tells me a couple things about the guy. First of all, it's going to be, more than likely, it's going to be Sleep Talk with rest, and that's kind of fine. It reveals it's probably just going to have 2 coverage moves in the back. And as I'm looking at it here, I'm like, I might as well just Power Whip here. I can take any attack, even if it has ice coverage, and then, be able to strength sap my health back. But as I Power Whip, they decide to switch back into the Fortress. Guy comes in, he's like, what is happening over here? And just dodge it. Immediately out the Pokeball, straight up dodging a Power Whip. Guy comes rolling out, and he's like, whoa. The hell kind of kinky nonsense was that? Imagine just coming straight out and just a whip just whizzes right past you. Anyway. It would have been really nice to connect on that just to be able to get rid of its sturdy. However, I miss, and then I realized one thing. They're probably going to set up Stealth Rock here. This feels like a good opportunity to go right into Azelf. Honestly, looking at their team and judging by how much I was able to do with just an Earth Power to that Dondozo, Azelf feels like I can set up in the face of everything. I've got coverage, I have Nasty Plot, and it's kind of free against a Fortress here. Expecting the Flamethrower, I think maybe they go Ceruledge here. And after a Nasty Plot, a Mystical Power should be able to grab a kill. But as they bring back in the Sleeping Whale, it's kind of an interesting situation here. First of all, a Nasty Plot doesn't do anything against Dondozo, but if I can get through this matchup, Azelf is going to be able to stack Mystical Powers to a point where it's going to be kind of unstoppable. So it just depends on what they have to hit me with. Now the good news is they have not burnt any turns of sleep, so it's guaranteed with a rest. They're going to be asleep for 2 turns, and as they do take a sleep turn over here, we know they're going to fire off the Sleep Talk, and we get to see kind of what they're going to go for here. There's a chance they just get rest again. It turns out it gets the Earthquake, which is perfect. Surely they have one move over there that can at least touch me, but luckily for us, it's a pretty low chance for them to even get that. And now, as I go for a second Mystical Power, they can Sleep Talk again, but Azelf can surely take at least 1 attack from the thing. And the main thing I'm worried about is potentially some priority with like a Shadow Sneak in the back from Ceruledge. But as I go for another Sleep Talk, it ends up getting Earthquake again. And as much as you kind of hate to see it, Azelf is in a fantastic position over here. My special attack is now insane, and I can continue to fire off mystical powers, and considering their only unaware mon is now basically used up, we get to see what their answer might be to the full-on sweeper Azelf here. So they decide to hard swap into Rillaboom, which is fine with me. It does set up the Grassy Surge. I'm figuring mystical power just grabs a kill. And of course it misses. That is the downfall to a move that has such a good effect like Mystical Power. The 90% accurate may as well be 50. And luckily for us, we just connect on the second one, which is great. Now, one thing important about this matchup is they did not go for a Grassy Glide. What I'm mainly worried about is priority here. If they Grassy Glide and then potentially have Shadow Sneak with the Ceruledge, Azelf is going to be in a little bit of danger there. But regardless, they do not click it. They probably think maybe they can take an attack. I don't know if it's a Assault Vest or something. But Azelf is able to grab himself a nice little kill, and now it's time. The reason why I didn't Flamethrower against the Rillaboom is because as now Corviknight comes in, surprise, bitch, we're roasting him up, and now we got some Thanksgiving melted metal turkey in May, and that feels pretty good. So, regardless, we have Thunderbolt or Flame. Azelf just has ways to kill everything, which is so great, because now as they end up bringing in the Ceruledge here, surely they probably have the priority. If not, it might be potentially Focus Sash, which I'm also worried about. But as they go for the Shadow Sneak, it does over half, which is unfortunate, but at least allows me to fire off then the Shadow Ball, and it does not end up being Focus Sash, which is sick as hell. So down goes the Ceruledge, and that's kind of the biggest threat to stop the Azelf. And again, you let this thing set up, even just one Nasty Plot and one Mystical Power, we have the ability and coverage to kill like everything. So as Gliscor comes in, generally a pretty bulky fella, guess what? We are boosted to the point of no return. A Mystical Power is going to straight up toast him. And that's going to be a dead Gliscor. So again, you let the Azelf get a little out of control. Even against the early rest was probably the downfall, because those Sleep Talks allowed me just to get out of control. And you find a position with the Azelf, you set up in front of it, and that's the game right there. Because now as they have the Fortress left, they decide to come in. They know they're going to get Flamethrower to hell and back, and they decide to head out. So that's going to be a great showcase of Mystical Power Azelf being able to just literally snowball out of control. And this thing is pretty damn fun to use. Honestly, you might not even need Nasty Plot, but a lot of the time if you can catch a switch and just get that +2 early, you get yourself in such a good spot. But that is now going to bring us into game number 2. Now, I've always got a team full of shenanigans, and I'm trying to get multiple things to work, but I just like having a fun time throwing a couple games out here to try to showcase some stuff. And as always, hey, if you've stuck around this far into the video, I will ask, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It really does help out the channel. And I don't know, make the super algorithm that is YouTube happy. And regardless, one thing interesting about this squad is I oftentimes Azelf isn't really the main thing that's supposed to get going here. It just finds its way into that spot, and it's like, that's the kind of guy I'm all about. Anyway, let's get into the match because I just ramble. Alright, so as my opponent decides to lead off with the Okie Dokie, I've got probably just about the last thing this guy wants to see in the form of horse. I've got the Muddy Horse, and this thing does not want to touch me, surely. So I'm pretty free to set up a Stealth Rock here, and they decide to get on out of there. Now, Buddy is working with a crazy, like, DLC, themed squad of guys, and as they bring in the tiniest little cup of matcha tea ever, Sinistcha is not what the horse wants to see. Now, I get up my Stealth Rock, which is great, but also, as I'm looking at this entire matchup, one good thing about Azelf is base 115 speed is still pretty damn nice, and if you can be the fastest thing on the battlefield, oftentimes you realize that Azelf is going to be a win condition. And I'm looking at that, kind of relying on that being the position I'm going to play toward. So, as I bring in Heatran on the Sinistcha, they decide to go for a Stun Spore, which I didn't even realize this asshole got, and that is so incredibly annoying. I do get paralyzed, which is the worst thing in Pokemon probably ever, and now this thing decides to get on out of here. So it comes and just spreads some horrible spores on me, and then like I'm actually gonna head out. Now, as they go back into the Okie Dokie, that's not ideal, but I do connect on a Magma Storm, which is cool. And that locks him in, but also, more importantly, just does a bunch of damage. So, I mean, I get some huge chip on the thing, which is great. It also just takes some continual damage here, but now I figure I'm probably in danger of a Drain Punch, and if there's a position to get Azelf in, I'm gonna take it immediately, because again, I have coverage and I'm faster than everything they've got. If I can just get a few special attack boost, it's going to be over, and the Azelf is the guy that can make it happen. So they do go for the Drain Punch. Azelf does take it nicely. I got a big ass forehead, which is a nice target for him, but that's fine. He gets a little bit of health back, but at this point, I don't even need to set up a Nasty Plot. They don't have a Dark type switch in. Nothing really wants to come in on a Mystical Power. Now, things can live it, of course, but nothing can really come in, take a Mystical Power, and then after the special attack boost, live to tell the tale after another one. So as they do go into the Sinistra here, good thing is this thing is physically defensive, not great on the special side, and the Mythical Power is going to do great damage to the thing. Not only that, but we mainly only click it for the special attack boost, and that's going to put us into a spot where we can easily outspeed and have enough to kill it, and just like that, as we grab a kill with the Mythical Power, now we've doubled our special attack. Call that the old natural nasty plot. And now we can immediately see how far the Azelf can go. This thing is kind of crazy. So one decently bulky fella is going to be the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Now, while I do still have +2 to my special attack, the calcs are looking like I think this thing likely lives one unless I have the Terra boost. And I'm thinking, you know, I mean, depends on what this thing's built like. If it's like specially defensive for some reason, that's going to suck. But I decided to go for the Terra Psychic. Now, Terra Psychic has got to be like the least used Terra ever, but we pull it out to be able to boost our Mystical Power just that much further, and they decide to go for the Protect. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna go, hold on a second, I'm gonna see what this guy's up to. You know what I'm doing? I'm clicking Mystical Power all damn day out here. But again, after some leftover recovery, this thing's gonna be at full, and I'm looking at it like, you know what, +2 with the boost, I should be able to grab a kill on this thing regardless, and that's kind of what I'm playing towards. Because if I get through the Blood Moon, nothing really is gonna deal with it, especially after I get another boost to my special attack. So it turns out they're going to go for a Terra of their own. They scout out the Mystical Power, they go for the Terra. I'm thinking do not be anything crazy. It's just going to be Terra normal. But he puts he can diamond on its head, which obviously doesn't affect the matchup for me defensively. They probably want to guarantee that they can get a kill with a Blood Moon, but guess what? As the Mystical Power comes in, boosted by the Terra, I'm able to get the immediate kill, the one-hit KO. But there was a critical hit, and I honestly am not exactly sure if that mattered or not. It all depends on how that Blood Moon was built. If it was no HP investment, that we have like a 90% chance to kill it. If it was max HP, that crit likely mattered, but we're going to go ahead and say that Azelf is just a beast on that one. So luckily for us, they burn up the Terra, and now as they go Pecha Run, I do not need to click Mystical Power. I do not want to force the miss, because I know it's going to happen when I least, you know, expect it, and I can just go for the Shadow Ball at +3 special attack. We're just burning and turning through everything. That's going to kill the Pecha Runt there. With no ability to Terra out of a weakness, the Azelf is in an all-time spot here. Now, as they go into the Gouging Fire, this is one thing that I was extremely worried about. If it was able to get up Dragon Dances to the point where it would outspeed me, that's when I think things are going to go south. But, you know, we are faster here. And with the amount of boost that we have, a Mystical Power with the Terra boost should surely be enough to kill it. It did get a Photosynthesis attack, which is fine. After the Stealth Rock chip, that is going to be a dead as crazy Shield Head Entei, and that's very satisfying to see that thing go down in one hit. So look, everything's all feeling like an immediate second Azelf body bag out here, which is pretty often happens with this set. Honestly, nobody sees this thing coming. And as they go into the Ogre Pond, I'm feeling like, you know, I probably do need a Mystical Power to be able to kill it. That is fine. We got 90% accuracy. They go for the Spiky Shield, just basically to be like, hey, please do not hurt me. And of course, you know, it doesn't change anything. I don't get any damage from the spikes because I'm just over here using my special attacks. I go for it again, and it misses. Literally, every single game you're gonna miss a 90% move at least once, and it's absolute nonsense because now the price we pay is a flaming stick to the forehead, just absolutely caves my head in with a damn club, and that is unfortunate. We do not get the full Azelf body bag, and now we got a little bit of work to do. But luckily for us, we've put a huge hole in the team, like the size they put in that Azelf's head. But I can go into the Braviary here. Now they got 2 Mons left. It's gonna be the Ogre Pond, and then they've got the Okidogi back there. But here's the thing: I realized that they might go for a Spiky Shield here, and instead of attacking, I immediately am gonna click Agility. Now the Ivy Cudgel damn near kills me. That is scary. I leave it with 16, which is sick. But now as I get my agility off, I can't really click Sky Attack. I waste my Power Herb, and if they go for the Spiky Shield, I have to predict that and go for a second agility. We're playing ballsy out here. Now they do go for the Spiky Shield, which is sick as hell. And as I get up my second agility, now we're in a position where, you know, they either have to roll for the second Protect here, or just get outsped here and enjoy the Wing-filled Death. Now instead, they have to go for the Spiky Shield. They probably realize, you know, they're just going to get outsped anyway. They get it. And look at this. I go for my Sky Attack, which is going to immediately activate because I have the Power Herb. And I'm thinking, damn it, I'm just going to go down now to the spikes. And I've been destroyed by the double Protect. And one thing I did not actually know about Sky Attack is it does not make physical contact. We live to see another day. Completely thought my ass was dead there. which is actually pretty damn satisfying. You learn something new every day. I totally thought it was over. But now I can go for an acrobatics. Since I used up my item, we got full strength. After an agility, we are faster than not only the Ogerpon, but also, of course, the Okidogi in the back. And sometimes you gotta just bring out the late game America Bird to just destroy some stuff. So Okidoki gonna be the final Mon. This thing is, you know, living on its last inch of death over here. And all we gotta do is click the acrobatics. That is gonna be the end of game number 2. And I thought that was just another interesting one. Also, a great showcase of, hey, it's not foolproof. Azelf is gonna miss a mystical power, and it's gonna hoe you. You just have to accept that. But until then, you have a pretty damn good time with it. And our little pixie fella is super fun. That's a move that I just always forget about. And I was like, I have to showcase this. It's too damn nice. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. For real, I really do appreciate the support on these videos. And I will catch you next time. Peace out.